Hello, I hope y'all are doing good. I got a bunch of books to read, so today we're going to start with The Magic School Bus Presents Wild Weather. Alright, this one's got a lot of pages. Weather all around us. The rain had almost stopped. Miss Frizzle pointed to a rainbow in the sky. "The sun is coming out," she said. The Frizz explained that our weather is decided by what happens in Earth's atmosphere. That's the name we give to all the gases surrounding our planet. Buckle up and let's take a closer look. Let's see, rainbow colors appear when the sun shines through ice crystals and clouds. The effect is called a halo. The sun's light is broken down into several groups. This group of colors is called a spectrum. A double rainbow happens when raindrops reflect the sun's light twice. This makes us see a second, fainter rainbow. Frizzle fact. A rainbow actually makes a perfect circle, but we only ever see the top half as a giant curve or arc in the sky. How do rainbows form? Most rainbows form when the sun shines on falling raindrops. Light is made up of 7 different colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. When sunlight enters a raindrop, it changes direction and splits up into these different colors. The sunlight passes through lots of raindrops at the same time, and we see each of the 7 colors in a curved band in the sky. Up in the clouds. Clouds are made up of billions of tiny drops of water or ice crystals. They form when water rises up into the air as a gas, called water vapor. On reaching cooler air high up, the water turns back into liquid and may even freeze into crystals. Lenticular clouds look like spaceships. Their shape sometimes form when strong winds blow across mountains. The streaks made by cirrus clouds often have curved ends, and we use the term overcast to describe the blanket-like effect of stratus clouds. Frizzle fact. Fog is very low cloud cover. It is made of tiny drops of water that hover near the ground. Cumulus clouds. Our fluffy-looking clouds always have clear outlines. The base of a cumulus cloud may be as low as 1,200 feet from the ground. Ribbons of cumulus clouds, often called streets, can stretch for more than 250 miles. There are 3 main types of clouds: cumulus, stratus, and cirrus. Types of clouds by Arnold. Cumulus clouds are fluffy and white with flat bases. If they stay small and white, it can mean that good weather is on the way. If they start to grow taller or turn gray, that can mean showers and even thunderstorms are on the way. Stratus clouds are flat and look like gray sheets spread low across the sky. They are a sign that drizzle or fog is coming. Cirrus clouds form high up in the sky. They are wispy like hair and look like streamers. If they start to fill up the sky, it can mean wet weather is on the way. Water everywhere. Earth is sometimes called the blue planet. This is because the oceans that cover about 70% of the Earth look blue from space. This water has always been on the planet, constantly changing from liquid to gas, or ice, as it moves between the ground and the air. We call this the water cycle. This is our planet. The liquid water looks blue from space. The wispy white shapes are clouds. The solid white area at the top of the picture is ice. Water as a gas. We cannot see water vapor rising into the sky. When it cools to form droplets, however, we see it as clouds. Water as a solid. When water freezes, it becomes hard and solid. Ice and snow are common forms of frozen water. And water as a liquid. The most common form of water on planet Earth is liquid. This is a type that flows in rivers and oceans. Frizzle fact. Thanks to the water cycle, a glass of water could contain tiny parts from drops that washed an Egyptian queen in the distant past. The Water Cycle by Keisha. When heat from the sun warms the water in oceans, some of it turns into vapor. This rises until it cools into droplets which form clouds. The droplets join up to make bigger drops which fall as rain. Some of the water falls in rivers and flows toward the sea where the cycle starts again. Rain. Water falls to earth as rain. It fills lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams and helps plants to grow. We could not live without drinking fresh water. Seawater is too salty for us to drink. Too much rainfall can cause flooding. Deserts are mostly hot and dry, but they do get rain, sometimes in short, heavy bursts that can cause flash floods. Frogs can live on land and in water, so they don't mind at all when it rains. Rainfall has flooded this farmland. Floods happen when water cannot drain away fast enough. Frizzle fact. One of the wettest places on Earth is Mount Waialeale in Hawaii, which gets more than 423 inches of rain a year. That's a lot of rain. Some rain that falls during a storm soaks into the soil. Too much rain can cause mudslides that destroy roads and houses. Splish Splash. What are monsoons? By Ralphie. Monsoons are strong winds that bring heavy rain with them. They can happen in Asia, Africa, Australia, and on the Pacific coast of Central America. It can pour with rain for weeks at a time. Monsoons can be important for the people who live in some of these regions because the rain brings them water to drink and helps their crops to grow. So, although monsoons can bring floods, people rely on them for their survival. Wind power. Wind is just air on the move. Its movement is caused by changes in the temperature of air, land, and water. When hot air rises, cold air flows in to fill the space left behind, and this makes wind. Wind can move very slowly to make a breeze, or it can move very quickly in a gale. The jet stream is a current of air that flows super fast, high in the sky. It is so strong that it speeds up an airplane flying with it. Wow, look how fast these windmills are spinning. We can't see the wind, but we can feel it. Trees sway, and dust, rain, and snow are blown around by the wind. This is a wind farm. A collection of windmills is called a wind farm. Some wind farms are built on land, while others are built at sea. The wind turns the blades of this windmill. As the blades rotate, they turn an engine to make electricity. Frizzle fact. The windiest place on Earth is Port Martin in Antarctica. The wind blows at more than 40 miles per hour on at least 100 days of the year. That's pretty windy. What are sandstorms? Sandstorms happen in the desert and often other very dry areas. They occur when powerful winds lift millions of grains of sand or dust in the air and carry them off, sometimes tens of thousands of miles away. Some sandstorms can last for several days. About 1 billion tons of dust blow out of northern Africa every year. A hurricane. Hurricanes are storms with strong winds and heavy rain. They start over the warm waters near the equator and happen when hot water vapor rises to form clouds. The clouds and wind start to spin and form a storm that rushes toward land. Once on land, hurricanes can cause great damage. Hurricanes are called typhoons in the Pacific and cyclones in the Indian, but all three terms mean the same thing. Hurricane winds are so strong that they can rip trees from the ground. Here's a hurricane pattern. The hurricane forms a circle of clouds as wide as 340 miles across. That's as big as the state of Texas. The storm swirls around a calm, still center called the eye. Hurricanes in the northern hemisphere spin counterclockwise. In the southern hemisphere, they spin in a clockwise direction. Hurricanes can create waves that are 20 feet higher than normal waves. Frizzle fact: a storm becomes a hurricane if the wind blows faster than 74 miles per hour. That's the speed of a sprinting cheetah. What do you name a hurricane? The Atlantic hurricane season is from June to November every year. Each new hurricane is given a boy's or girl's name beginning with a different letter of the alphabet starting from A. So the first hurricane of the year might be called Arnold, the second Beth, the third Charlie, and so on. There are 6 lists of names to choose from, and they are rotated annually. But the names of big storms like Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and Hurricane Sandy in 2012 are retired and never used again. Tornado. A tornado is a fast-spinning tube of air that links the ground to a cloud in the sky. They develop during some thunderstorms and are also called twisters. Tornado winds are the strongest on Earth, reaching 300 miles per hour. They are strong enough to lift cows, cars, and even houses high into the air. Waterspouts are tornadoes at sea. A waterspout is really just a fast-spinning cloud. A waterspout does not suck up water as it moves, although it looks as though that's what it's doing. Cumulonimbus clouds, like these, are tall, dark, and dense clouds that form when strong air currents carry water vapor upwards. They are also called thunderclouds. Some cumulonimbus clouds can produce tornadoes. Frizzle fact: in 1931, a twister in Minnesota carried a railroad car 80 feet from the track with 117 passengers on board. The car weighed 83 tons. Twisters link with dark, heavy cumulonimbus thunderclouds. The column of tornado is called a funnel cloud. You can see it is full of tiny drops of water. Tornadoes can do a lot of damage, especially to cars and mobile homes. Most tornadoes last just a few minutes and travel around 4 miles. It would take most adults at least an hour to walk that far. What is Tornado Alley? While tornadoes can happen anywhere, the United States has the most. Around 1,200 tornadoes a year spin through Tornado Alley in the Midwest. This is because hot air moving north from the Gulf of Mexico meets cold polar winds coming from south. Enormous thunderclouds form when the hot and cold air clashes. Here's Tornado Alley. Thunder and lightning. Lightning happens in a storm, when ice in the clouds becomes charged with electricity and causes a giant spark. Thunder is the sound of air expanding from the heat in the lightning. We hear it after seeing the lightning flash because light travels faster than sound. Lightning rods protect skyscrapers and other tall buildings. They work by conducting the electricity to the ground safely. Lightning clouds. Lightning is usually made by cumulonimbus clouds that are very tall and full of water and ice. Lightning travels at up to 136,000 miles per hour. Lightning flashes that occur inside a cloud are called sheet lightning. Forked is the term given to lightning that forms as it branches as it travels from the cloud to the ground. Frizzle fact: lightning heats the air to around 54,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Storm safety. Lightning kills around 50 people a year in the United States. People get hit because they are mainly made of water, and water conducts electricity. The best way to avoid being struck by lightning is stay inside a building or vehicle during a thunderstorm. If you are outside, avoid open areas, water, and tall objects like trees and poles. Don't hold on to an umbrella or fly a kite. Crouch low, but don't lie down. Inside, don't use a corded phone because electricity can travel along the wires. Ooh, snowstorms. Snow is made up of tiny ice crystals. The crystals form when drops of water freeze in very cold temperatures. Snow is mostly air, which is why snowflakes are bigger than raindrops but take longer to fall. A snowflake can take up to an hour to float to the ground. Arctic dogs have thick coats to protect them from freezing in the cold and snow. Snow plows clear roads and push big drifts of snow out of the way. And this is what a snowflake looks like under a microscope. Every snowflake is unique, but most have 6 points. Frizzle fact. The worst blizzard in U.S. history happened in March of 1888. Some 50 inches of snow fell in just 36 hours in Connecticut. Polar bears live near the North Pole and have thick fur to keep out the cold. They don't slip because they have long curved claws to grip the ice. Polar lands. It is never warm enough for the ice to thaw near the North Pole. The landscape is always white there. A blizzard is a kind of snowstorm. Wind speeds can reach 45 miles per hour. What is a whiteout? A whiteout is a dangerous type of blizzard. This is when there is so much snow blowing around in the air that people cannot see further than a few feet around them. They may not know where they are anymore and can get lost very quickly. People in cars are advised to stop moving. It is also hard to tell the land and the sky apart. Flying in these conditions is dangerous because pilots cannot see the ground. Freezing weather. The parts of the world that are the farthest north and south get less sun. This means that they are colder. The coldest continent is Antarctica, home to the South Pole. Temperatures there never rise above freezing. Floating ice. Icebergs are huge chunks of floating ice, sometimes as large as a 10-story building. Around 90% of an iceberg is underwater. Antarctica is cold and windy, but it is also dry because it hardly ever rains. That means it can also be called a desert. Higher means colder. The higher the elevation, the lower the temperature will be. It drops about 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit for every 1,000 foot rise in altitude. All of Antarctica is made of ice that is around 1 mile thick. That's deeper than any skyscraper is tall. An ice age is when the temperature on Earth drops and ice covers the land. There have been lots of ice ages in Earth's life. The last one ended 10,000 years ago. The bright blue appearance of this water caused by daylight reflecting off the ice just below the surface. Emperor penguin chicks huddle together to keep warm on the Antarctic ice. Frizzle fact. The Earth's lowest ever temperature was recorded in Antarctica on July 21, 1983. It was a chilly 128.6 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. Life in Antarctica. No one lives in Antarctica, but scientists go there to do research, sometimes staying for many weeks. Life there is tough. People have to wear lots of layers of clothes to stay warm. The outer layer needs to be able to keep the wind and the snow out. It is hard to get fresh water, so people use as little as possible and always wash quickly in the shower. They grow some food for themselves in greenhouses, but most of what they eat is shipped in. Hot weather. A heat wave is when the weather is very, very hot for days on end. If it goes on for months and there is no rain, it can lead to a drought. The land dries up and the soil cracks and is blown away. Crops die, which can mean there is not enough food for people to eat. The city of Yuma, Arizona has around 4,300 hours of sunshine a year. This makes it the sunniest place in the world. Our heat comes from the sun. When it is very hot, the air bends the light. It plays tricks on our eyes. These zebras look as if they were standing in water. It's called a mirage. With so little water in the air, no clouds can form and it will not rain. The ground becomes so dry during a drought that it cracks open. Nothing can grow here. Frizzle fact. The hottest place on earth is Dalool, Ethiopia. The average temperature is 93 degrees Fahrenheit. How hot is hot? A record-breaking heat wave spread across much of Europe in August 2003. The highest temperature was recorded in Portugal. It was 117 degrees Fahrenheit. Roads melted, train tracks twisted, and lakes and rivers dried up. Many people died because their bodies could not cope with the extreme heat. Weather forecasting. The weather changes all the time. Forecasters try to predict our weather hours, days, and even weeks in advance. They look at the weather in different parts of the world to help them decide what will happen next. They also look for patterns in weather records from the past. Here's a weather station. The instrument that measures speed and direction of the wind. The information helps decide how the weather will change in the next few hours. Countrywide forecasts. A weather station collects information on what the weather is like in one place. Using several of them helps forecasters see how the weather is changing across the country. This solar panel gets energy from the sun. The energy powers the equipment, allowing the weather station to send the information to the forecaster. This picture shows the Earth's ocean temperatures. Blue areas are cold and red areas are hot. The large red area shows the warm water in the Pacific Ocean. A weather vane turns according to which way the wind is blowing. Forecasters get their information from all kinds of places. Weather stations on land, ships and floating weather buoys at sea, balloons floating high in the sky, and satellites watching from space. Frizzle fact. The highest weather station on land is on Mount Everest, and the world's tallest mountain. Unmanned, it records the weather 26,000 feet up. Can humans make the weather change? It is possible for humans to change the weather for short periods of time. One method for doing this is called cloud seeding. Chemicals are placed in rockets and fired into clouds or released from airplanes. The chemicals make the cloud more likely to release rain. This helps farmers in need of water for their crops. The same method has also been used at major sporting events to prevent crowds from getting soaked. Changing climate. When the bus flew back over the city, Phoebe said the air looked foggy. Miss Frizzle told us this was smog, pollution that hangs in the air. There are also gases that we can't see, she said. She explained that these were greenhouse gases and that they were making the planet hotter. We call it global warming, and it may bring more wild weather in the future. Factories developed from the 1800s onward. They introduced the use of fuels such as coal and oil. This is a picture of Los Angeles, where smog often makes the air look gray and hazy. The city gets a lot of smog because it is built in a big valley where the air doesn't move very much. The sea level and sea temperatures are rising slowly. This changes weather patterns, making it more likely for coastlines to flood. Traffic pollution. A lot of smog comes from gases produced by cars and trucks as they travel along city freeways. Carbon dioxide and some other gases are called greenhouse gases. They trap heat just like the glass sides of a greenhouse keep in the warmth from the sun. Frizzle fact. Earth's average temperature has risen 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit since 1880, when we started burning lots of coal and oil. The decade from 2000 to 2009 was the warmest ever recorded. How can we help the planet? Here are some ways we can help the planet stay healthy. Use less energy by switching off lights you don't need. Help plant trees to absorb carbon dioxide from the air. And save water by taking a shower rather than a bath. Recycle your waste, and whenever possible, walk or ride a bicycle instead of using a car. Weather professionals. Many jobs have something to do with measuring and studying the weather. Some people forecast what the weather is likely to do next. Others chase storms to watch and record the effects that weather has on the world around us. Storm chasers track all sorts of extreme weather. For example, they wait for warnings about tornadoes, and while almost everybody else stays indoors, they head to where the storm may pass. They follow a storm to record what happens. Meteorologists are scientists who study changes in the weather. They gather information such as the amount of rainfall, wind speed, and direction, and temperature in a region. Then they use the information to help predict the weather. Climatologists are meteorologists that study the Earth's climate, which is its long-term weather patterns. They do so by looking at the data collected over months and years. The information they give us can tell us what kinds of plants and animals survive in different parts of the world. Weather forecasters are meteorologists that say what the weather might be like in the future in a certain area. They gather information on meteorological measurements from satellites and weather balloons. They look at where clouds are and how the wind is blowing. Using this data, they can give accurate forecasts for days and sometimes even months to come. An atmospheric science teacher trains people to study the Earth's atmosphere, the bubble of gases that separate us from space. They help students to understand the power of nature, how to predict storms, and why climate change happens. Well, the end. I hope y'all enjoyed. And a special shout out to Charles and William. I love y'all. Have a good night. Whew.